building has valid identification and is allowed to enter the building. Remember, the way to keep our children safe, all doors remain locked and adults do not enter the building unless they are there for a specific reason. Please remember to call ahead if you would like to visit your schools and please state the reason for your visits. Plus, we have the lunch bins still out there, and they are also in the vestibules because we don't want them in the baking sun. We don't want any food poisoning. So we're keeping them more or less in the vestibules now, which are a little cooler. And we are also looking to move forward with night security at Old Mill Road for Saturday evenings in the fall. There is a little bit of a social gathering going on at Old Mill Road sometimes, late Saturday nights more than Friday nights, and we're trying to deter students with the cameras and hiring security to make some rounds, as well as partnering with the Nassau County Police Department. And I have called them on a Saturday night and asked them to please, get over there and try to deter the students. I'm happy to say they're not North Merrick students. They're normally high school students, obviously. But we don't want them to get hurt. We don't want them to get in trouble. So we'd like to partner with the community and parents to ensure that that is not something that turns out to be a situation such as someone winding up in a hospital or getting hurt. So we're not trying to do it to be mean, we're trying to keep our community safe. So please pass that word, because we feel that if the high school students know that there will be security, that hopefully they don't socialize there. And finally, you may have read an article about Rockville Center and the ransomware situation. I would like to just assure everyone that our systems are fully backed up. We do a snapshot every day of our data, and the worst possible scenario that we could run into is possibly lose about 24 hours of data. We have full backup, we have insurance to cover us as well, and we have all the protections in place that are needed. So thank you very much, and welcome to a new school year. We look forward to doing more great things in North Merrick, and thank you for your support.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to public comments, and I'm just going to note that we are going to discuss the format of public comments under old business later on during the meeting. But for now, the guidelines are any person wishing to make comments or raise questions shall fill out a comment card. After you are called, come forward to the microphone and state your full name. Questions are to be addressed to the board president, not to individual board members. Personal attacks on individual board members, administrators, and staff will not be tolerated and may be caused to adjourn the meeting. There will be no back and forth dialogue. Out of courtesy and fairness to the rest of the audience, each visitor will limit his or her remarks to one item lasting no more than 3 minutes, not to exceed a 30-minute session, or ask only one question. Public discussion on matters relating to staff and students by which their reputation, privacy, or rights to due process, or those of others could be in some way violated is prohibited. So we'll move on to the first public comment right now. Rania Alves. Hi, Rodney.
Hi. So, Rodney Merrick, soccer, saxophone, and piano, but we made it.
Thank you.
For those, because the first meeting, I can't miss it. So, I'm Rodney Alves. Welcome to the new board members I haven't already met. I was here for several meetings last year, as well as at the middle school, high school level as well. Calhoun graduate, my brother's at kindergarten through, finishing up at Calhoun. I have kids in 6th grade and 4th grade at Camp Avenue, and I'm just here to touch base with the board about Eid, which is the Muslim holiday. There's 2 of them. Only one of them is going to be falling during the school year for the next several years, and then it becomes 2 holidays. I know we provided the district with the calendar from New York City with all the dates that New York City schools are closed for Eid, but I did want to follow up and acknowledge that we did notice the calendar change, which was wonderful. I know last year one of the big issues we had was that all the DROs were sort of buried in the back of the calendar, and then a lot of times assignments were still being given, events were still being scheduled. 2 years ago, Camp Avenue Day was originally scheduled on that day and had to be rescheduled. Last year, the jazz tour was scheduled on Eid and had to be rescheduled. At the middle school, 6th grade level, hockey tryouts for the district team were scheduled on Eid, and we had to unfortunately miss them. So I'm just back this year. I know last year no vote was taken, and the reason that was given was that the holiday this year was going to fall on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend and would have no impact on the school days. But what we had requested is having it placed more prominently on the calendar, and again, I do appreciate that, and just look forward to working with you guys this year to get whatever information you need, so that hopefully this is the year that we join many of the districts in Long Island, as well as New York City, and add Eid as a holiday where the schools will be closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. I would like to make a comment on that. So first of all, thank you for acknowledging that we did put it as a DRO on the calendar this year, so I appreciate that you acknowledge that. As you're aware, we do have new legal counsel. We have already referred the matter to legal counsel to review it, and we are reviewing it, and it will be discussed upon our setting of the next calendar. So, thank you. Michael? Sorry. What's your you? Okay.
Hi, Mike Spataro.
Thank you.
So I'm here today because I'm a first grader at Fayette, also named Mike Spataro, and I want to talk about classroom size. So both first grade classes have about 26 students in them. Vincent probably knows that as well. Fayette's an overflow school, so Camp and Old Mill send students here. So if we have 26, I'm imagining they have a very similar number. We have friends that live in Belmore. Their first grade class is about 17 children, as is some of the size of other classes in this district. So I'm wondering if there's a policy that is set by the board in terms of class size. There's a lot of studies that have been done showing that smaller class size has value to children. Obviously, there's costs associated with adding additional teachers. But I'd like to know what policies we have, what are the guidelines in terms of class size, what size would then require the board to kind of carve out another class.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Dr. Siniak just to speak about that briefly.
Good evening, thank you for coming. So the enrollment right now is every first grade class has 25 in it, except for one first grade class here because there is a child that is said to be relocating. So then they will all be at 25 shortly, but every one of them is at 25 except for one year, which is temporary. So I just wanted to share that information with you. This resulted from last year's enrollment, which basically all of Camp and Old Mill Road were at 25 as the students as kindergartners, so they've now been promoted to first grade and those have remained. We did have some new entrants that came into that grade at Camp Avenue, and then they filled in the additional spots at Fayette and then a few from Old Mill Road. So that's how we wound up with the 25 at Fayette. There is no board policy for class size. The practice that has existed in North America is to basically fill these sections, and there's no guarantee that if you move to an area that you believe is zoned for Camp Avenue or Old Mill Road, that you definitely get placed there or registered there. And that is a practice that all of us sitting here basically have inherited. There is no policy. We try very, very hard not to go above 25, and that's been the practice here for many years. It's a very unique cohort, a large number of students. It's almost if you were to look at a graph, there's a huge spike in first grade. We are watching it very, very closely. The board is fully aware of the situation day by day. So if there needed to be an opening of another class, that would be a conversation amongst myself and the Board of Education, and as to where that class would go. And you would have to think of the consequences of that and the political ramifications around that as well, because we very well can open one in each building. There's a space issue and there's a cost associated with that. But we are monitoring them very closely. Just an added, for the first graders this year, we are having the guided reading push-in put back into first grade. So that will allow for small group instruction, because you will then have 2 certified teachers in the room at the same time. And when a class such as the one here at Fayette rises to 26, we immediately put a certified teacher assistant in there, so it's almost as if having 2 teachers. And we utilize all of the instructional spaces in the building so that the entire class doesn't have to be in the same room always at the same time at the number of 26.
Thank you.
So I hope that gave you information.
No, it did. I would just request the board consider potentially opening up another class, for that specific cohort of first graders.
Okay.
It would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anna Higgins?
Is that better?
Yes.
Welcome back. I have a couple of questions. Is it okay if I ask all of them?
Sure.
The first one is, will there be an actual vote to remove the use of comment cards during board meetings?
We're going to discuss it, and I can't tell if we're going to vote on it. We're going to discuss it. I'm hoping to bring it to a vote, but we're going to discuss it under old business. So that's
Okay.
the answer.
And then before the board votes, or does a block vote on agenda items, can you explain agenda items J and K?
It's actually, that's not part of the consent agenda, so yes, we will.
When you get to that?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And when explaining J and K, is there a way that you can clarify what changes, if any, were made to the current?
I think it will be clarified.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have part of the policies, I don't know if someone, mistake. Okay, all right, so,
Is that you, Joe?
okay, oh, okay, thank you. All right, so moving along, I'd like to move the agenda, I would like to do a consent agenda, make a motion through A to O, but I'd like to remove J, K, M, N, and O. K, M, N, and O for discussion. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the remainder. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, moving on. So I'd like to start with J, and the Board of Education hereby approves the stipulation of settlement between North Merrick UFSD and the Civil Service Employees Association, North American CSEA, regarding vacation days of a certain employee, and hereby authorize the superintendent and president of the Board of Education to execute said stipulation of settlement on behalf of the Board of Education. So I will refer this over to our attorney. This is a personnel matter.
Hello. I can talk about transparency purposes. We can talk about what this is about without mentioning the specific staff member. But there is a ambiguity in the CSEA contract with respect to vacation days. The situation was that we had an employee who was a full-time employee for a number of years. This is a non-professional staff member. Became part-time, and now it's once again full-time. Under the contract, full-time members get vacation days, and part-timers don't. The issue was the number of days that were earned based upon prior full-time service, the number of years as a full-time employee. Should that be counted towards her service as a full-time employee now that she's a full-time employee again? And we had to clarify that ambiguity. We were trying to clarify that ambiguity in the contract. In this particular instance, decided that that would be fair, that that person who accrued that vacation time, those years of service, should have the benefit of that now that that person is back in full-time service. That's pretty much that issue in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. So a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second. Any opposed? Any all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? So K, Board of Education of the North Merrick Unified School District hereby ratifies the MOA with the Civil Service Employees Association, North Merrick Unit CSCA. So I just wanted to clarify that this was already agreed to in the contract, and this is just regarding actually how the days that were already agreed upon would be split and allocated between the winter and spring break.
Yeah, again, this total number of 6 vacation days that they're entitled to, 3 during Christmas, 3 during spring break. The request came to us not to increase the number of days, but to reallocate, as the board president stated, in order to be able to provide the maximum number of consecutive days during each vacation period, based upon the school calendar for this particular year. So we've agreed to reallocate for this year only, because that's the way the calendar works out. Going forward, it will go back to 3 and 3.
So this is nothing that's in addition, it's not
No additional days, no additional compensation.
So I'll have a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? We're up to M. The Board of Education approved an emergency remediation of the Old Mill Road School to replace the gymnasium floor due to work damage, and Dr. Skink did allude to that earlier, so if we could just maybe get a little bit of clarification on that. Sam, Mr. Carter.
Over the summer, at some point in the end of July, there was a leak in the crawl space. What happened was one of the roof leader pipes that comes through the building and goes through the crawl space, an elbow broke. So rainwater was gushing into the crawl space, which has a sand floor. That created humidity at the level that it got into the sleeper floor, which is a floor above a floor. So there's an airspace, and the moisture was able to get into that airspace, and the floor buckled and went up and down and got all kinds of cupping. And we brought in an expert to see if it was repairable. They didn't feel it was repairable. We called in NYSER, our insurance company, to have a look at it. They agreed. We tested it for asbestos, which thank goodness there was none. And we worked very quickly with NYSER and with the contractor to get the claim resolved and get this, ball rolling. Matter of fact, we're starting tomorrow night with the demolition. About a week of demo, a week of self-leveling, 2 weeks of installation, and then, painting the stripes and making it look beautiful. So, kind of stinks that it happened. We were able to fix it. It was an unfortunate situation and just a $5 piece of plumbing, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. We were able to get that corrected very quickly, dehumidify the basement, and here we are today.
Thank you. A motion to approve.
Hold on, can I make a comment on this topic? I think as we were taking the tours this afternoon rather, of all the schools, I just wanted you to be able to double check into that it's only the crawl space and perhaps not the air conditioning above that's not covered, but the condensation that acquires from the humidity of going hot and cold. One of the custodians thought that might be the piece. Can you hear me?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I didn't understand the question.
I'm saying, if you're looking into it, you're starting demolition tomorrow, I would like you to also look into making sure that the condensation only came from the ground, not above the air conditioning units
Yes.
that are there, because one of the custodians felt that perhaps was the cause of it, and I don't want to, tear up this floor.
You know
Our
what,
children
that-
be out of the gym for 6 weeks, and that was
Right.
the
That was
problem.
our initial reaction. We're like, what changed this year? And like, well, we got AC. Maybe we super cooled it and caused some kind of situation where the concrete under, the concrete subfloor could have reacted with the wood. We had everything checked out by the contractors. The units are running perfectly. The dehumidification is working perfectly. So that's what made us look into the basement, into the
Right,
crawl
well,
space.
yeah, only because that is the only change. I mean,
Right,
over
that's the
7
first,
years.
yeah.
Did you,
Right.
so the contractors did evaluate that and assess it,
Yes.
and they ruled that out?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The rooftop units are the same, almost identical units that are working here. Do a fantastic job of dehumidifying and cooling and heating.
What's the total cost?
Yes.
Sorry?
The cost?
I believe it's in the $150,000 range.
And that's fully covered by insurance?
There's a deductible, but yes.
What's the deductible?
$5,000. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you. Motion to approve? Motion to approve? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we do the demo tomorrow, thank you. All right,
you.
you're up for the next one, so don't get too cozy.
Yeah,
All right. Whereas the Board of Education approves an emergency remediation of Old Mill Road School to replace the hot water heater.
Dr. Murphy, did you want to comment?
So last night, I was with my kids and I got a call from one of the guys and they said the water heater had gone. So just to back up, I didn't like the looks of that water heater back in the spring. We actually put it on the list of work to do this past summer, which unfortunately is still log jammed at SED. So we intended to replace it, but it burst before we could get to it or get the permits to do it. So it was on our radar, but we lost the race with SED. So we're doing it. We called to see if it would be okay to get it expedited through SED, and there's just so much red tape that the board, to get it done quickly, board resolution is the way to go. So that's what we're doing.
But we can still use the allocated funds.
Exactly right. By doing this, we can use the allocated funds rather than use some other source of funds and then have that fundage locked into a project that we no longer need.
Thank you. So we have a motion to approve. Motion. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? And letter O, this is just to comply with the new state law effective September 1st that must be in place September 15th. So I'll just read. The Board of Education approved the following resolution. Be it resolved that in accordance with education law, section 2801A and its accompanying regulations, upon providing the opportunity for public comment regarding amendments to the district's licensed security services contract with Wisdom Protective Services to expressly state that the role of student discipline is delegated to the school district administration, that the security guards are not involved in discipline of students. So I'd like to appeal to discuss it briefly.
Very briefly. So we have all school districts are required to have a school safety plan for obvious reasons. We have such a plan. Every year we have to file that plan to state ed by October 1st. As the board president mentioned just several weeks ago, the state issued an emergency regulation that said for those school districts that utilize private security firms, which we do, that we have to ensure that in our contracts with that private security firm, it specifically states that the discipline has to be administered by school officials, not by local security personnel. We drafted up a simple amendment. We're now required to put that amendment into the plan and then we file the plan. However, before the board can adopt this resolution, the law provides that the public has the right to comment. If they have any comments, you don't have to submit a card to do so. But we want to provide you with the opportunity if you have any questions regarding this particular action item. So look to the microphone and address the board before the board votes. If there aren't any public comments, then we would call the board vote.
Seeing that there are no public comments, I ask for a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, thank you. So we will be in compliance. Thank you. All right, moving on to personal action reports. Board of Education approved the personal action report that's detailed in the mailing. Motion to approve. Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? So I'm going to ask to move the policies A through E. One motion to approve. Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? I'm going to ask
Okay, so let's welcome back high school. Start the meeting off with presentations. Aaron will be talking about the state of the district on progress through the years on UGIS exams and AP exams and on 4 high school years. Very happy to say that we had some great progress with a near 100% passing rate for our Alpha 1 ratings. And that's kind of fun. Thought it was good. Which also leads us to our next, we call it acceleration for most, which means that the students in the Belmont Merrick Central High School District will be done with math requirements as far as the state required by their sophomore year in high school. So a lot more electives and things, opportunities for kids to take moving forward with that. We started off our first year with our new electrical tech school, opened up at Millbrook. A very exciting addition to a lot of our other major specific programs that we had. There was some mention about the wonderful community cover that we have here in the Central High School District. At one point this summer, we're feeding up to 85 families, which is, I think, really that the school district actually feeds 85 families in this community, which is great. A couple other things are going on. We have a wonderful program that's a requirement for all athletes at high school level for students. It's called Excellence in Performance, and students from all high schools must attend before they continue with practice. Of course, the big news was about ransomware. You heard it mentioned here earlier. I'd like the newspaper articles that were detailing other districts that had to spend money to get their district back on track. Just like here at the elementary school level, the high school is backed up daily, and we've missed at most 24 hours of information. You should know that educational law 2B requires that school districts have all their software, make sure that it's certified, follow protocol, so that there's no way for the ransomware to find these soft spots to get entry. Our company that we use in the Central High School District is called Core, and it provides technicians and things like that to make sure that we're safe. The big news was opening day, Central High School District, a very spectacular flair. Superintendent Tommaso on opening day had the entire community, entire educational community that included custodians, clerical staff, teacher aides, everyone, meet for the first time ever, one big group at Kennedy High School, and kind of that Oprah kind of moment. Everyone looked underneath their chairs and found a golden ticket for a wonderful lunch that was happening out in the parking lot. We were serenaded by, I was very impressed, district band. Who was in that one? That was athletic director Eric Avallero. Joe Anaka was in it. It was amazing.
Of course, it's from
Yeah, the choral teacher, pronounce anyway, it was amazing. The best part of the day was that everything that took place there was funded from outside groups. Not one penny was spent from Central High School District. And what was done at all different groups from our community that included bargains for teachers, TAs. We also had Kennedy Alumni Association. We had local vendors give money. We had the Board of Education gave money. We gave. And just everyone gave that made the day possible, and it was really very amazing. One thing you should note that I think the district actually made a little money because because of the heat, they decided to augment the drinks, and they gave 2 cases of water and 6 cases of seltzer. At the end of the day, they ended up with more than the drinks that they had put out there, so we kind of made some money there on the water and that. But the message this year is closer to their hearts. I know you all hear, when this one voice, and this year is closer to their hearts, which is kind of the focus of the 1920 school year. It's pretty good. Very simple.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, School Community Relations PTA Council. Here, again. Yes.
Okay, wonderful kickoff to PTA this year. I have to say, and I remember from 2 years ago when I also had this position, I'm amazed at the amount of influence our PTA here has on its, instructional day too, and also outside of that. It's just amazing, but it doesn't happen really at to see all the things that these hard-working PTA members are doing. So things that came out of the council minutes, I think that were important. And a lot of things going on. I'm not going to spend all the time just listing all the things that were happening. Important things, a lot of talk about technology. Okay, so let's talk about the district website and this idea of using Blackboard for a virtual backpack, which I think is very cool. So all the flyers that go home would live out there, virtual reality. Yeah, I don't know, but a virtual backpack, which I think is very good for those flyers. Try to post them on the refrigerator. They get lost. But here's a place to go find them all, and that's very, very good. Also, a way for the PTAs to keep track of their parents' emails and to communicate with them. That was really interesting. And as far as the schools go, a lot of great things. So we hear at Fayette, had one full first day of school. They're talking about picture day and things like that, and Yankee Candle fundraiser will be going on. Picture day is 9/24. They also, like everyone else, is trying to increase their membership, and along with that whole technology thing, they're actually using Venmo to get people to pay their dues for PTA. It's great. I love using Venmo. Let's see. Camp Avenue, they had, obviously, Teachers Night is this Thursday, or doing that. They have a fall product catalog that they're using for a fundraiser. Picture Day also going on over there. They're also looking to provide tents, although it won't be a fundraiser, it'll just be a service. That sounds pretty cool. Let's see, Old Mill Road. September book of the month is the Good Egg. And that. What else? Welcome Back Picnic, and it looks like that was also food trucks, wasn't that for Old Mill Road?
Yeah.
There are a lot of food truck, a lot of food truck activity going on in Merrick's this month. Pretty interesting. They also have talking about a money back day to shop at Modell's, Stop and Shop, and also Amazon. I wasn't sure which school was doing the family fun book again, so I don't know who's doing that, but maybe you can let me know, because I love that book back in the day. One trip to the mall with Annie's and Lego shop, and maybe money back and some, so I definitely be interested. Second.
Definitely retired.
Oh my
You'll
God.
have to say.
Sure.
Absolutely.
SEPTA, we talked about a whole lot of different months. We talked about awareness and ADHD awareness. The month of October, we talked about wearing orange, dyslexia.